It's now time for the Being Wrong segment. Curt Carstensen here with Bryan Piatt.
Hello.
And we've been having a conversation about many things that we'll recap here in a moment for the video audience. But Bryan, this is the Being Wrong segment.
Okay.
Is there something from your life that you can now confidently say that, yep, I was wrong about that?
I could probably say a lot of things for this. I think when I thought about this, it's more this notion that being pulled together and trying to be that person that's like doing everything right, or that like looks cool, or like looks, good on the outside, that somehow is going to equal like a happy, fulfilling life. I have realized now that it's actually our vulnerabilities and being real and like being open about struggle and the things that we're actually going through on a day-to-day basis, and not just kind of putting our highlight reel out there. That's actually, I've found, what nurtures the best, closest relationships in my life and the most meaningful things. I think I tried for a really long time to just kind of always be like, and I'm still guilty of it for sure, of just trying to kind of win people over and be the person that looks good from the outside and being really consumed with what other people think, but trying to lean more in that direction of being real and being honest and being vulnerable, which is not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
It's very hard, actually.
Yeah.
But I think it's well worth it.
Because I think we are taught to win people over, you got to be a certain way. And I'm finding that if I'm winning anybody over at this point in my life, it's because I'm being me, 100% genuine, and not trying to win anyone over. I'm just, here I am.
Yep.
I think I have some decent qualities. I'm sure I'm not perfect in every way, but I'm just going to be myself, and the right people will be attracted by whatever it is that I am, and I'll just keep moving forward, attracting the right people to my life, as opposed to trying to attract a certain type of person by being a certain way.
Yes. And I just think realness and like authenticity and whatever that is for you, it's different for everybody. Like that's what resonates, I keep saying it. We've talked a lot about it in the podcast of just kind of coming back to this notion of we're all like human beings doing the best that we can day in and day out. And sometimes that looks pretty messy. In fact, most times for me, at least, that looks pretty messy. And instead of trying to like hide that and try to pretend like that's not what's going on for me, I'm finding that leaning into and embracing the struggle is pretty damn empowering. What do they say? Make your mess your message. And I've always loved that.
I haven't heard that one before, but
I like that one a lot.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's kind of, hey, if you're going through something, and might as well embrace it, which is a process, but might as well just kind of be real about it, because trying to pretend like it's not there, or trying to step out into the world every day pretending like things aren't hard when maybe they are, is really exhausting.
And life's not going to be constant joy.
No.
I don't, maybe for some people somewhere it is, but I'm pretty sure the goal for me is just to add a little bit more joy more often, connect with people more often.
Huge.
And the things that I'm struggling with, find ways to just struggle with it less and get rid of it, because when you release all of this that you've been struggling with, there's so much more time to find some new things that will bring you joy, where clearly the things that you're struggling with don't bring you joy. That's why you're struggling with them. And
yes. And it brings people into your life where you can be real about that stuff.
Yes.
And that's one of the most beautiful gifts I think that we can give ourselves.
So be real about the things that otherwise you're hiding in an attempt to be slightly different than maybe who you really are. That's what you're wrong about.
Yes. I think we might have solved everything today,
I think
Curt.
so.
I mean, that's what we got to in the podcast.
So I need to say this video is minute 4 of the video. This podcast is going to be one of the longer podcasts I've had. It's approaching 2 hours, and I know people that aren't podcast listeners think that's crazy. I can't sit and listen to this. Don't like sit in your living room and listen to it. You can if you want, but find a way to do it while you're driving or making dinner. And I really think, and Bryan, for a few different reasons, this has been potentially one of the most impactful conversations I've had, and really fits the purpose of why I'm doing this podcast. And I think as a teaser, I'll say this part of it: the most mind-blowing experience of my life. It was because of Bryan that happened. Yeah. And I don't think you realize it was the most mind-blowing experience of my life.
No.
And he brought it to me, and that's the little teaser here. I really think it's going to help some people to listen to a lot of aspects of this podcast. You talked about obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yep.
And a few other
mental
things
health.
that you are very aware of or dealing with that have, led you to this moment where you're starting to figure some things out better maybe than you used to.
Totally. Kind of comes back to what I just said, right? Like embracing the struggle. And for me, there's been on quite the mental health journey of my own, and that's part of what I'm trying to kind of bring out into the world more. And a lot of some of what our conversation centered around was having some pretty open and real conversations about that. And I think I was pretty, when it comes to some of the stuff that I've struggled with, I was potentially more vulnerable with you than I have been with anybody else. So that was like a big thing to put out there. So that's also in there.
And I might add that I knew Bryan Piatt of Kare 11 before anybody else did. Way back, he was just some little kid showing up to St. Cloud State, wide-eyed. He thought I was cool or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's
You were the guy that knew everything at the radio station at KVSC. You trained me in. My first broadcasting gig at St. Cloud State was with you.
And then you just soared past me as big-time Minneapolis superstar TV guy.
It's not true. Here we are talking on the podcast.
Yeah, now you're on my podcast. So.
See, look at it. It's all
circles back.
It's all full circle.
Bryan, thank you for joining me today. And I mean, yes, it's my podcast and I want people to listen, but seriously, if you're ever going to listen to one of my podcasts, this might be the one to really listen to. And all the links are going to be associated with this video. It'll be easy to find.
Thank you so much
Thanks,
for having
Bryan.
me. It was truly a pleasure. Thank you.
This was awesome.